Hello, BookTube. Tomorrow is the beginning of June, and I have some possibilities for what I will be reading in June. So this is my June reading plans with a question mark, because I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be able to get to all of the books that I want to read in June. Anyway, so first up, I'm going to begin with the manga. So I want to read at least 12 more volumes of Black Clover by Yuki Tabata. Black Clover is a fantasy series in which most of the population have some form of magical powers that are enhanced by the usage of grimoires. Asta is alone in this. He has no natural magical ability. He is, for all intents and purposes, probably the only magicless person in this setting. However, this lack of magic allows him to come into contact with a black grimoire that allows him to draw a anti-magic sword from its pages. And this gives him the opportunity to join his friend Yuno as a magic knight. However, while Yuno, who is a prodigy wizard, he has a four-leaf clover, he's naturally gifted at magic, and he joins the most elite order of magic knights. Asta joins the most disreputable of the magic knights, the Black Bulls, and he goes on adventures with his order and with the inspiration of becoming the Wizard King. I am loving this series. I have read 11 volumes so far, and I'm looking forward to reading many more volumes. I'm also hoping to read 12 more volumes of Naruto by Masashi Kishimoto. Naruto is the most popular manga in the world. It's about a young man named Uzumaki Naruto who, on the day of his birth, a nine-tailed demon fox attacked his home village of Konohagakure, and the Hokage at the time sealed the demon fox into newborn Naruto, resulting in him gaining an immense amount of power, chakra, but also leading him to being outcast of the village, a pariah. And Naruto compensates for this by becoming a prankster, a class clown, with the aspiration of becoming Hokage, the leader of his village, with the hope that the villagers will then have to acknowledge him. Naruto gradually, over the course of the series, becomes an apprentice ninja under the tutelage of Kakashi and fellow students Haruno Sakura and Uchiha Sasuke. And this series is amazing. I am currently in the Invasion of Pain arc, and I cannot wait to read it. And the following 5 Kage Summit. It is going to be so much fun. So that, and also there are a number of forthcoming volumes of series that I'm currently following that are coming out in June. My Hero Academia, Volume 38, Gokurakukai, Volume 2, and Eden Zero, Volume 29. So I'll hopefully try to get to some of them as well, although Eden Zero might get pushed back into July, depending on when I get them in. Also, I do have a number of incoming manga hauls, one that should come in either this weekend or early next week, and I'm also building up to another big manga haul or order as well, which should come in at some point. I haven't ordered it yet, so I don't know when. Anyway, moving on from manga to fiction, there are a number of BookTube events happening in June. Most prominently, June on the Range, hosted by Michael K. Vaughan. And I will if I remember, I will leave links to all of the hosts of the various June booktube events that I hope to be following. So one of the so the idea about behind June on the Range is to read westerns. This year, the prompts are to read something by Zane Grey and Louis L'Amour, two major Western writers. So I hope to get to Writers at the Purple Sage by Zane Grey. For Zane Grey, and for Louis L'Amour, I hope to read Flint, which is unfortunately this has no dust jacket. There's also a historical fiction event hosted by Shelley Swearingen, and for that, I would like to get to The Iron King by Maurice Druon, which is translated by Humphrey Hare. So this is a history about the end of the Capetian dynasty. Philip the Fourth and his sons, before Philip's nephew becomes king. As the dynasty, even though it's still the Capetian dynasty, it's just, it begins to branch out. As the Valois eventually moves into the Bourbon, it's still the Capetian dynasty, it's just various branches dying out and moving to different branches, and the dynasty just taking on that branch's name rather than sticking with Capet or Capetian. Anyway, I'm also hoping to read My Name is Red by Orhan Pamuk. This is set in the Ottoman Empire, and it is translated by Erdag and Goknar. There's also a read-along called Dune in June, in which participants read Dune by Frank Herbert, a classic of science fiction. It is hosted by Sean D. Stanfast, Aaron Hook. I'm blanking on the third host, and I think Steve Donahue has been, I don't know if he's been officially included as a co-host, or he's just shoehorned his way in and is kind of doing a parallel read-along of Dune. And if I remember, I will leave links to everybody associated with Dune in June as well. I would also like to get to The Recent East by Thomas Grattan. This is about a family of East German immigrants, or German immigrants, returning to Germany after the fall of the Berlin Wall. For history, since there's also a Historathon, I would like to finally get around to reading The Middle Kingdoms by Martyn Rady. This is a history of Eastern Europe. And I would also like to get to a book I just recently purchased last week, From Genghis Khan to Tamerlane by Peter Jackson. And I would also like to get to the Cleopatras by Lloyd Llewllyn-Jones, which I had intended to read this past work week, with the idea that I would actually be finishing this book today for my day's reading. But that didn't quite work out, and I will talk a lot about that with weekly reads. This is a group biography of the 7 Ptolemaic queens who were called Cleopatra. So I am fairly confident that I am not going to be able to get to all of these books. So I'm going to sort of figure this out. So I think over the first 2 weekends of June, I will do 12 volumes of Black Clover and 12 volumes of Naruto. And then I think the third weekend I will try to do June on the Range. I'm fairly confident I can get Flint in a day. I'm not as confident about Riders of the Purple Sage, so this may take some finagling. During the work weeks, the first 3 work weeks, I think I will try my hand at Dune by Frank Herbert. I have mixed feelings about Dune, and I was thinking about over the course of this past weekend when I first heard about Dune in June and into this work week, I was thinking about making a video where I sort of debated with myself whether or not I should give Dune another reread. I have mixed feelings for Dune. On one hand, I really like the idea of Dune, the world building, the setting, but there are things about the world building and setting that annoy me. I'm not particularly enamored of the main protagonist. And I think that a lot of the tension in the novel kind of falls out towards the end as the Harkonnens become a lot less menacing and more cartoonish. But I will talk a lot more about this as I read Dune and sort of further settle my ideas. So that leaves me with a lot more books and not a whole lot of time. So I was thinking about, particularly with My Name is Red, I was planning on reading this in August for my own reading project, which I sometimes do in August, in which I draw inspiration from various school subjects to read. And so one of those subjects is history, so a good thing would be historical fiction. So I could get to My Name is Red. Then, although I might sort of change things up for this one, I don't know. So I might give a preference to The Iron King. The problem with that is that I've already read this past weekend a history that does cover a lot of what this book focuses on, which is the Tour de Nestle affair. So I don't know if that would work out. Although, given that it probably would be the better part of a month, I might not have as much. And I don't know what I'm going to do with the histories or the recent East. I think I'll just do that by ear. Anyway, BookTube, hopefully this works out. If not, I will report back with weekly reads. Anyway, BookTube, until I see you next time, which will be weekly reads, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.